As Frank said, this started in 2010. I was, some of you may have been at a meeting in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Although most of you aren't that old, I guess, but I was sure there. And we were sitting around talking, and we were bemoaning the fact that there was no one speaking on the current issues of the day on behalf of the party. So I thought, okay, well, I could do that. And we started trying to put together something to make that happen. And the result is the Castle report. So I started then, right after that spring meeting. And for several years, I did 3 a week. And number one, that was quite burdensome. But number two, they weren't as good because what I would do is I would go by Starbucks and sit there for a couple of hours and kind of write out notes, and then I would just sit down in front of the microphone and start talking. People started asking for transcripts, and I thought, transcripts, that means everything I say would have to somehow be transcribed on the paper. And so that led me to writing out the podcast before I did it. But the transcripts that you'll see on the website are close to being transcripts. But they're actually, because I sit there and I ad-lib a little bit, and sometimes things are happening as I'm actually speaking. You know, like Syria, Turkey just invaded Syria. While we're talking, okay, Joe's telling me that it's time for me to get started. All right, go ahead then. Without Joe, I'm nothing. Okay, one of the things that we're supposed to be talking about is how you can use this to build your party or grow your state party. It's just one more tool in your toolbox that you can send out to people and say, okay, well, there is somebody speaking on the issues of today. I talk about the current things, like last week it was on Trump's pulling American troops back from the Turkish border in Syria. Other times I talk about something of historical significance, like the end of World War I or World War II, something of that nature, but it's all relevant to today, in my opinion. So as it says, my commentary on current events, the real purpose behind it all is to offer a defense of Western civilization, which is by leaps and bounds being destroyed, I think. All right, there you go. Friday at 2 p.m., a date that you will live in anticipation of. Your entire week will be centered around. It's almost Friday at 2 p.m. So you can get the podcast if you're in Central Time, 3 o'clock, obviously, for Eastern Time. And that's the website, castlereport.us. And as Joan says there, you can sign up for an automatic email. Like, I have one gentleman whom the podcast is posted early on Friday morning. Joe and I use it recorded. Like, I have a meeting with some paralegals at 8 o'clock, and as soon as that's over, like 8:30, I start recording it. Within 15 minutes of it being recorded, there's this one gentleman who has already emailed me saying, you made a typo in such and such a section. But he's called me a couple of times in some mistakes. You know, I had a bunch of numbers in it one time, and 2 of them were wrong. Like the correct figure, I said 31 million, but the correct figure was 3.1 million. He quickly pointed that out to me, and I changed it on the transcript, but I couldn't go back and change my voice. Anyway, that's when it goes out. So if you're on the email list, you'll get it as soon as it goes out, but otherwise it's on the website at 2 o'clock Central. Joan says it's user-friendly. and she knows about stuff like this. She can tell you how to work it. That is self-explanatory. Now, comments, a place to leave a comment. Yes, I'm a great fan of the comments that are on my website. I enjoy it tremendously. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I mean, this is America, right? You got a right to be wrong. So people will comment, and sometimes I'll give a podcast that's takes me 12, 13, even 14 minutes to record it, and all they'll hear is one line in the entire thing, and they'll take that line and extrapolate on into something else. But that week I talked about, 2 weeks ago, I talked about impeachment. And I gave my thoughts on the Democrats' efforts to impeach the president. And I was fairly harsh with the Democrats, I thought, in that. But this lady commented, and she said, when did you become a Trump idolizer? I'm sorry I ever voted for you. I'm sorry you She told me that I'd, dishonored Jesus and stuff like that. But, that's her opinion, and so that's fine. Other people, what I found was that, just like during the campaign in 2016, I don't have to say anything in response. Other people defend me. So this one gentleman comes, he comments right after hers, and he says, apparently you didn't actually listen to what he said, because that's not what he said. Anyway, it's all fun. I get comments a lot more on Facebook, which I don't have now. Joe told me I was no longer authorized to have my own Facebook account, which she stopped me right after the campaign in 2016. I wanted the Facebook account to monitor what people were saying about me on Facebook, and after the election was over, she said, "That's it for you, no more." So I don't know what it is, but she will come occasionally and read me the comments from Facebook. But I get emails from people all over the world, literally. Bob Peck, who is without Bob Peck and Terry Berry, I couldn't do it, but they're the technical people in all this, and Bob sends me a report that says, 88 countries have heard this, people in 88 countries. Well, I've been interviewed on Russia Today a few times, and a lot of Russians send me emails, and they tell me they're very complimentary, Russians, about what I say, and they like my stuff that I do about Russia for the most part, which I've done quite a bit. So Russia Today, Afghanistan, India. Last report I saw, there's like over 100 people in India that had heard it. Any country, name any country you want, I'm sure. Someone there has actually heard me. Afghanistan. You're saying it's time to move on, Joe? Is that what that looks for? Okay. Just do like this or something. You don't have to. Okay, that's how you get it, Joan says. Now, on the archives, you look down, it says archives. The archives listed on there goes back to June 27th. For some reason, there's 2 years missing, and I don't know why those first 2 years aren't on. But they're not on that archives anyway. Also, if you just Google Castle Report, or just Google my name, even just put in my name and say podcast index, it'll pull it right up. And if you want to say, I wonder what Darrell said about the end of World War I or something, you can just scroll down. There it is. Okay. What we got? Why do the podcast? Well, as I said, it's a way for me to talk about the issues. I try to do it in such a way that it's the commentary of one man, me, so that the party can absolve itself if I say something that the party doesn't think reflects their values or whatever. The party can always deny me, and it will not reflect on the party. So the commentary of one person, I got fired from a good job one time writing commentary for my church newsletter because they were offended by what I said. One gentleman said that the church didn't want to be associated with that kind of thing. And I said, well, the term commentary means it's the commentary of one person. But anyway, so I decided that, to try and prevent that from happening anytime in the future. So you're not telling me that's all there is it? Surely there's more. Oh, okay. How do you use the podcast? Well, you just go to the website and use that little clicker, and it says listen. You click on that and it'll come on. That's about it. Oh, you mean how to actually send it out? Okay. Email, state newsletters, social media. If your state party or something has a website that's actually kept up with, a commentary on current affairs, if it's 3 months old, and if you're putting it up from 3 months ago, it's probably not so current. But if you do it every week, it's good. A few states do it. Michigan is very faithful about putting it up, and folks down in Texas as well. Texas and Tennessee are related from previous wars. Okay. Yes, it's designed to help you look at the world from a constitutional perspective. You'll begin to understand the world when you see that like you've never have before. That'll be good. It's okay for people to disagree. Okay, well, John's very complimentary of me. I do value Western civilization. I do offer a defense, and I talk about things that are happening in Europe, and I talk about where this civilization, this thing we call Western civilization, came from, what it means, what it will mean to not have it anymore, and so forth. Oh, Joe's going to show you the actual website. How exciting is that? That's the one from last week on Syria. Now, when I did this one on the president ordering U.S. troops to pull back from the Turkish border, that was before he authorized sending 2,800 troops into Saudi Arabia, including fighter aircraft squadrons and aircraft defense batteries and so forth. And he obviously did that to help defend the Saudis from Iranian provocations and so forth. But he apparently had some deal, as I alluded to in this podcast with Erdogan, to say, now we're going to pull back, but you're not supposed to invade Syria. And that seems a bit naive when you think about it, but he is placing sanctions on them for doing what he, in essence, it seems, gave them permission to do. What else you got, John? Is that it? Any other good stuff?
Is it permissible to put a link for your podcast on a website, like we want to put it on our party website in Nevada?
As far as I'm concerned, it's permissible. I don't know any reason about why it wouldn't be. I did this for people to use any way they want. Joan keeps telling me I should combine it all into a book. Writing a book's very hard, as Mr. Proctor can probably tell you, but I have a book which, if you want to ask me about it, I'll get you a copy, called The Life-Changing Power of Bankruptcy, but it's a little bit different than that. Anyway, to combine this into a book, to take the transcripts, make a book, I started thinking, well, that's 2,000 pages. So it's a long book, but I could do it in sections, like different subjects. Like several years ago, I did a series called How the Republic Became a Monarchy. If I were doing it today, I'd probably say how the Republic became an empire, but nevertheless, how it became a monarch. I started out on that subject with a long article about that subject. And then when I did it in podcast form, I think I divided it into 5 different podcasts. And that was pretty well received by a lot of people, so I could do something with that. And there are many others. The demise of Western civilization is a long theme.
So the first name over on the right next to the picture, there is a place where you can sign up. So this is where the reason this is there is not just so that you can sign up, so that you can tell your friends and neighbors if they can sign up. And that will get you.
Joan, talk closer to the mic and I can turn it down.
Talk closer to the mic. Said, yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you
Is
go.
that better?
Yes.
All right, so if you get on the RSS, then you will get it like immediately. But you will also get an email at 2 o'clock. So that's how the gentleman sees it so quickly. Otherwise, you can just know that about 9 o'clock in the morning, it's on the website.
I'll tell you,
9:30, something like that.
Excuse me, Joe. There's the last report I got from Bob. See there, this one I had 6 comments on. So I look at every 5 minutes. I'll check that to make sure no one else has commented. But I listened to a podcast. As I said, Bob Peck told me that about 5,000 people get this every week here in America and listen to it. And I thought, 5,000, that's, after all these years, it's not that much. But some of you may listen to the podcast every week, like I do. But there's a libertarian economist out there named Tom Woods. Some of you may have heard about him. I'm a member of his group, and I listen to his videos and his podcasts every week, most of his podcasts. And last week I was listening to one while I was kind of on the treadmill at the gym, staring out at the sidewalk. I was listening to Tom Woods, and there's a little thing on his site that said over 3 million people have heard that podcast already. 3 million people. It had been up for like a day. So it's humbling when you hear that. I usually watch Ron Paul does a video every week. It comes out at 11 o'clock Central Time on Liberty Report. If you're interested, just go to libertyreport.com or ronpaul.com, whatever, and you'll get it. And he usually does about 15 minutes of the video discussing some issue that he's interested in that day, and millions of people watch it every week. 25 or 30 million people, according to the website that it's on. So a lot of people are interested in a lot of things. Podcasting is very hot right now. Any subject you want to name, from sports to economics to anything, there's someone out there talking about it every week. I'm talking about Western civilization and how we're better off with it than we will be without it. So I hope you can use it, and it's of some help to you.
Darrell,
Yes,
would you
ma'am.
give us your conclusion? I didn't see your podcast on your last one on Syria. If he's just posturing, if it's more.
Well,
It's
he's
for real?
posturing it to a certain extent because, it was advertised as U.S. troops being pulled out of Syria, but in fact it's just U.S. troops withdrawn from the Syrian border with Turkey deeper into to Syria. So the deal, apparently, according to the reports, was that Turkey could have a protected zone, a zone of protection, 20 miles deep into Syria and 300 miles long. They expressed it in terms of metrics, kilometers and so forth, but in miles, that's what it is. And the idea was that these Kurdish people, who that is their homeland, their ethnical homeland, who've lived there forever, and they don't really know about the border. It's just an arbitrary line in the sand, so they just wander back and forth and cause trouble up in Turkey. And Erdogan is looking for a way to push them back and create kind of a buffer zone where he would be free to kill and murder them at will, I suppose. And all these Christians that live in that neighborhood, it's a bad neighborhood too, but they all live there and they're all subject to. And they fled into the Kurdish territory because the Kurds historically are very tolerant of other faiths. They don't care if you're a Christian. They're Muslim people, but they're not jihadis or anything. They just mind their own business. And they've allowed Christians to live there. So you make certain promises to these people. You tell them if they will fight for you, like they've been doing for us now for, 25 years. My time's up, so what that means? 1 minute. This is the problem you run into. You go into some place to do something, like we did in Vietnam. We told these South Vietnamese people that we're going to, you join us and we'll help you resist this invasion from the north, and we'll be friends forever. We told the Kurds that you'll help us fight ISIS, then we'll be there to defend you from the Turks. And the last sentence is, until it's no longer in our best interest to do that. So you run into a problem where the only way you can keep your honor is to stay in this war forever. To keep fighting there forever. Otherwise, you're dishonored because you lied to these people. So, as I said in there, the best choice is don't do it to begin with. Stay home and mind your own business.